emotional intelligence to audiences as young as 6 years old and as old as 70. And just to be clear, EQ, emotional quotient, but my company is EQ, like an ice cube. So just to be clear, because they both sound the same. But emotional quotient is very similar to the concept of intelligence quotient. So on the screen, we've got a picture. And because Alicia's already been looking at it for a while, and I already warned her that I wanted her to take a look at it. Alicia, what do you think when you see this picture?
So the person obviously looks angry and probably frustrated. They're dressed in a business suit, so I can assume it's probably like some higher up or a boss or something like that, probably frustrated at like employees about something, maybe.
Some employees got him upset, huh? Some employee or a business decision. Hey, Mercy, what do you think? You're on mute, Mercy.
Oh, I just thought the person, at first when I saw the picture, I thought he looked stressed and like this is his way of relieving it by just like, I guess, blowing up at once rather than just like doing it in short little bursts. He did it all at once.
All at once, interesting perspective. Look at his hair. Does it kind of look like flames of fire? His hair is on fire. He's hot. Yes, this is absolutely somebody who's, used the phrase, probably blown his top. If you can see the image, his head might be coming off. Really hot, smoke coming out his ears. And just wait till you guys get into the business world. You're going to have to learn how to manage emotions that lead to this, because there are going to be a lot of people in a lot of situations that are going to work your nerves. So yes, I'm Jean Poole, owner of EQ Performance, and I love talking about emotional intelligence and critical thinking because everybody needs it. Kids as young as 3 to 4 years, that's when they start forming their personalities and how they're going to handle situations. And this is something you're going to need all of your lives. So that's just want to start out with this of how you don't want to be and how you don't want to handle situations. So what is your emotion quotient, or what is emotional intelligence? We've only got about 35 minutes here, so I'm going to hit some highline topics that you can go back to. This is being recorded, so you'll be able to look at it. If anybody on the call has anything burning that they want to ask questions about, we don't have a lot of time here today, but put it in the chat. Kamaya is going to be watching the chat. And then if it's something that we need to talk about, that's holding you back. If we don't see the comment in the chat and it's just something you really want to discuss here, go ahead and put yourself on and take yourself off mute and ask the question. Okay, so emotional intelligence, it is the ability to identify our emotions and those of others, to self-motivate ourselves and know how to monitor those emotions. It's basically controlling yourself and knowing how to control others. MW, because I'm not pronouncing your first name right. Is it possible to control somebody else? There's no right or wrong answer. I just want to ask you, is it possible to control someone else? You're on mute.
All right, so it is me. No, I think you're really mainly you're in control of you. I think how you present your emotions can have an effect potentially, but you can't actually control somebody else's emotions.
Absolutely, but you can control the situation. You can't control the individual, but how you respond to a situation. So we've got, I can't, these little boxes are, let's see if I can move those out of the way. Here we go. So emotional intelligence, what you're feeling, perceiving the emotion, managing the emotion, understanding the emotion, using it. That's all emotional intelligence. Don't deny what you're feeling, but know that you need to manage it and managing those of others. So that's what emotional intelligence is all about. And really there are 5 components. Awareness. Once you're aware of an emotion or a situation, how do you regulate that situation? So what motivates you to act a certain way? How do you put it all together in your social skills? And how do you use empathy? Empathy is a word you guys have probably been hearing more about. Empathetic leadership. When I came through corporate America and working, nobody cared about empathy. You just had to deal with a bad boss or bad coworkers. So the world is a little more sensitive to the necessity of being empathetic. But that's what emotional intelligence is, being aware of who you are, what your situation is, self-regulating whatever the stimulus is, being motivated to be sensitive to others, being empathetic, then putting it all together. That's really, these are the 5 core components of emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence, what's up with it? What's it all about? Can somebody else who's on the webinar with us tell me what this picture tells them? Kamaya, pick somebody. You're on mute. You're still on mute. MJ, pick somebody. Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Thank you.
I guess I'll just go.
Thank you.
From what I see, I guess this picture is kind of representing an iceberg of what emotional intelligence is and what, like, I guess are most known about it. The things that are at the top representing like what's common knowledge, while as you get lower, it's more and more, I guess, kind of unknown.
Very good. Very good. Do we have any geology people on or any science people who understands, who knows what the dimensions of an iceberg are in terms of what's on top and what's on bottom? Anybody? Just say I do, or if I don't hear. No, no. Okay. Look at this picture. The icebergs that you see on TV or out in Alaska or whatever, what you only see is 10% of the iceberg that sticks out of the water. The other 90% is below the water and actually anchors it. So to KP, I'm going to call you KP because I don't want to butcher your name, but you hit the nail on the head. When you see somebody, all you really see is what's on the outside, maybe 10% of who they are. But the other 90% is really who they are, what their hopes are, what their concerns are, what their values are, what their emotions, what are their motivations. You can't see that looking at me as you look at me. All you can see is I'm a chocolate brown woman who has expressive facial expressions, but you don't know what drives me. That's the same thing with when you meet people. That's where the empathy comes in, you guys. You never know what somebody's going through in a situation. They may seem like a total behind, you know, that butthole word. We're adults here, but you don't know what's going on. So that's where the empathy comes in. So thanks, KP, for taking a stab at that. But that's really what it's about with emotional intelligence and managing your emotions. So IQ, what is IQ? Anybody, just tell me, what's IQ?
The intelligent emotion.
Who was that? Not you, Alicia. Who was that? The other person?
Oh, that was me, Kendall.
What's IQ, Kendall?
Pretty much your intelligence, how smart you are, and things like that, how much brain power you have.
What you know about stuff. What you know about stuff. EQ, on the other hand, is what you know about yourself and others. Reflective, being self-aware, relationship management, organizational dynamics, being empathetic. Both are necessary, Both are necessary, but they're very different. And all people used to talk about in the past was IQ. What's your intelligence quotient? Oh, they belong to Mensa. They could have belonged to Mensa and be the most difficult person to get along with because they don't know how to deal with people. All they know how to do is deal with stuff. So it's going to be important that you know about stuff and how to deal with stuff. But then what's really important is how to use that stuff and how to work and influence other people based on that stuff. All right, so we're impacted by over 11 million pieces of information. Our brain can only process 40 bits of that, but at any given time, we're really only working with 7 bits. So the problem is we've got so much stuff going on that we can process, and it's really important that we slow down, think about what's happening, put it in its categories, and then respond emotionally intelligent, because stuff can come fast and furious. But as you grow into adulthood and your work lives and working with other people, you're going to be exposed to way more stuff, and your IQ should go up because you're going to learn more about stuff. Your EQ has to go up. Did everybody get that? Your IQ should go up. Your EQ has to go up. It's really going to impact your world and the things around you. Here's that iceberg, or the iceberg again. So which one is more important? I don't want an answer to that, but I just want you to think about that. Which one is really more important? And it's going to vary depending on the world that you're in. If you're working in a place where you only work with computers and not people, IQ is going to be really important. But if you're in a world where you're managing people, working with other people, your EQ is going to be super important, right? Everybody give me a collective yes. Okay, you're on mute. Never mind. We got to move on. But again, EQ, self-awareness, motivation, self-management, those 5 things that we just looked at. All right, here's some real stuff. That first guy that we looked at who was blowing his stack, he was being impacted by real emotions. Emotions are chemicals that are instantly produced, and they trigger what you believe is true or untrue. That's the whole perception and unconscious, perception, unconscious biases. Emotions then turn into feelings, right? So if you think of it, that guy was mad and blowing his stack. Something happened. So his feeling was they were mounting up and he was angry, visible in the skin. Remember, Alicia, that guy's skin was what color? Red. Red, right? You can see it. Have you ever been around somebody who was mad and you could see their nostrils flaring?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can see it. And it's important that you understand that we're all driven by those emotions, but we all have a responsibility to control them. So you have the emotion that puts you in a state. You have the feeling associated with what that emotion did. Then there's mood. Mood, a generalized state that lasts longer, helps you stay ready for what might be coming. Okay, anybody ever heard the expression, I woke up in a bad mood today? Oh, I'm in a really good mood today. The mood is the state that's once the emotion has triggered something, you have the feeling. You can either hold on to that feeling or you can let it go. Animals, so I don't know, the research on animals is showing that they're smarter and more like humans. But what we have the ability to do is decide if we're going to stay in a certain mood. If you're in a bad mood because something bad happened, it's your fault if you stay there. You have the ability to move out because guys, it's impossible. It is impossible to have a good and a bad thought at the exact same time. It's up to you to choose which one you want to have and what generalized mood you're going to stay in, right? Head nods. Okay. Now, I just mentioned those emotions. I'm sure everybody's at least heard of an endorphin. If you exercise, you heard about that endorphin rush. Anytime after you exercise or play a game, you're hyped. That chemical is the endorphins. Serotonin, the mood where people, depression, sadly, we all know about Twitch. I can't get over it. Every time I see a picture of Twitch, I just get sad. It's just hard to process. But serotonin is the emotion that impacts mood. And people who are depressed have issues with their serotonin. Oxytocin is the love emotion. You see somebody, your heart flutters, that's oxytocin. And dopamine, I can't even think what dopamine is right now, but we're gonna move on because I can't think right now what dopamine is. So we're gonna move on. But real emotions, real chemicals lead to the feelings. So it's real. If there's anybody on this call who's had feelings with depression, it's real. Talk to somebody. Anybody on this webinar who knows anybody who seems to have had some depressed situations, they're real and they come from these real chemicals. And depression comes from a chemical imbalance. So anyway, that's my public service. If you know somebody seems to be struggling, it's incumbent on you to talk to them or help them get some help. But this whole emotional intelligence is driven by real emotions. Okay, back to the picture of the iceberg and what makes people do what they do. It's what they're thinking. Genetics impact. Your mom may say, "Oh, you got that bad temper from your dad," or your dad might say, "You got that really nice personality from your mom." Either way, genetics play a role. Our biases, our own personal experiences determine how we might act the next time. But with emotional intelligence, you really have to understand the emotion and manage it. Attitudes, values, and core beliefs. Remember with that iceberg, it said you can't see their attitudes, their core beliefs, any of that. All you can see is what's on top. And at the end of the day, folks, everybody just wants to be loved. Oops, let's go back. Everybody just wants to be loved and needed. And if you show somebody that you care about them, it changes everything. Because people don't care what you say. They don't care what you do. They care how you make them feel. And that's what this emotional intelligence is about. And at the top is really conscious perceptions, but so much of it is unconscious. And that's why it's important to understand emotional intelligence. This is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. Something called the amygdala in the brain. It says the amygdala provides a preconscious bias to every stimulus you come into contact with. The preconscious bias is when I see a snake coming towards me, I need to get out of the way. That's the preconscious bias. When my boyfriend or girlfriend starts to do this, that, or the other, the bias is something else is going to follow. Those are all preconscious biases. And with that bias, you decide to do something. When my girlfriend starts to flick her hair around or do her fingers like this, something's coming. So what am I going to do? Sometimes you can plan to take an action. The amygdala will hijack it. And even so let me read this again. The amygdala provides a preconscious bias to every stimulus you come into contact with, even before you actually pay attention to it. It can and it does operate outside of consciousness. So you may consciously plan a certain way. This person does this, I know it makes me mad, so when they do this, I'm going to do this. The amygdala will hijack that emotion. How many of you have ever gone into a situation and said, here's how I'm going to handle it, and it didn't go that way? Blame the amygdala. I call it Amy G. Dollar. When Amy shows up, you got a problem, okay? Ladies, you've heard of flow. We heard about flow. You guys might be too young. I'm old. I'm 62, so I come from a different generation. So but if you ever heard about Flo coming to town, worry about Amy. Forget about Flo, Amy. Guys, ask your sisters. Okay, so the amygdala, look this up. This is pretty interesting about how it impacts emotional intelligence. All righty. We saw the guy blowing his stack. We saw the guy not really, he was upset. Ladies and gentlemen, what you focus on is what's going to drive you. If you walk around all the time mad about stuff, just angry, it automatically is going to come out. And it's not a matter of if, it's when. So you got to manage those emotions. Remember, we said dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. Know that they're real and they have to be managed. So again, just kind of wrapping up emotional intelligence, the self-awareness, the emotional connection, self-acceptance, self-esteem. Self-esteem plays a lot into your self-awareness. Self-management, the discipline, the self-control, positive thinking, problem solving. And self-management is, how do I fix this? How do I solve this problem? The energizers, the things that motivate you, the things that drive you, your attitude. Ladies and gentlemen, your attitude will take you to high altitudes. Attitude will take you to high altitude. So a good positive attitude will go a long way. Social awareness, having empathy and understanding your surroundings and your surroundings and the people around you and the things that impact you. And then putting it all together, relationship management. This is what emotional intelligence is. It is the intrapersonal, the things from the inside, the catalysts, which are the energizers, and the interpersonal, between people. That's really the crux of emotional intelligence. So how do you develop emotional intelligence? Well, this slide says, here are some questions you can ask yourself. When a situation is happening, what specific emotion am I feeling? Am I feeling excited? Am I angry? Am I mad? Am I worried? What emotion am I feeling? Am I afraid? Next, what emotion is the other person feeling right now? Because all you're working with is right now. What is the other person feeling right now? Okay, what can I do to control this emotion and my reactions? Remember, you can't control an individual, but you can better control the situation. Sometimes you just have to remove yourself from the situation, right? Yeah, okay. And then so social skills, motivation, they can go either way, but really it's what motivates you. How am I interpreting this task? What's making me think this way? And then how do I put it all together? So 5 ways to double your emotional intelligence. It's really about being present, being conscious of what's going on. You control, the only thing you control is you, so control it well. If you're in a situation where somebody's negative and toxic, move. If you're unable to move out of the situation, so you guys are teenagers. If any of you, not teenagers, I'm sorry, you are pre-adults. Some of you are adults. If you're in a situation, domestic violence, you got to move yourself out of those things. If you can't get out right away, you got to manage your emotions to keep the triggers down until you can get away. All right, you got to be sensitive and aware of triggers in yourself and others. Domestic violence, get out. Okay, that was another public service announcement. Sorry, that wasn't planned. Okay, but here we are. I asked the question, I said, which is more important, IQ or EQ? So IQ is at 10%. In my opinion, IQ is at 10% of stuff that you know. But knowing a whole bunch of stuff and not knowing how to get people to work with you or work with them is useless. The other 90% is that emotional intelligence. So IQ will get you hired, ladies and gentlemen, in jobs. EQ will get you promoted and keep you there. So that ends the presentation slides that I had. This has been recorded, so you can listen to it at any time. I'm going to give Kamaya and Madge, okay, my permission that if anyone on this call wants to have a conversation with me, or if you're struggling with something, If you got some anger issues, I'm gonna give them my permission to let you reach out to me directly. But before we get off the call, does anybody want to add anything? Did this raise anything in you? Did it say, oh, I remember, or we'll just take the next few minutes to let you guys have any comments or questions. Kamaya was.